Okay, we had a couple introductions. Welcome to people who are watching this online later. We are going to hear something from Public Utilities about our West Temple sewer rehab. Very excited about this. Take it away.
All right, thanks for having us. My name is Jennifer Fowler, and I'm with the Public Information Team for the West Temple Sewer Project. And then I've got Nikolai Halverson here. He is the project manager for the project. And then Mariah Gamache, who is the department. Well, what is your title?
I'm the wastewater collections program manager.
Program manager. Um, we've got some information to share about upcoming work for that sewer rehab project. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yes. Would you put up your virtual hand and then I can find, oh, great, exactly. Can you share?
Yes.
Perfect. Hello, Kevin. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Terrific.
That one is cheap. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. All right, like we said, we are with the West Temple Sewer Line Project. We've got a map here to show all of you. This probably looks a little bit different than the original postcard that we sent out to the residents. But in general, what public utilities will be doing is rehabilitating the aging sewer line that runs along West Temple. And that the project limits for this rehab project is from 1300 South to Utopia Avenue, which is a quarter of a block south of 2100 South, kind of behind the Winco kind of area. We originally had hoped that work was going to start earlier this summer, but the schedule's been updated, and we are scheduled to start ramping up work as soon as next week, but we anticipate that the majority of work is going to get underway the following week and then throughout September. So you'll kind of start to see equipment mobilize out there, maybe even some signs up, and then they will get going with building their temporary sewer bypass pipe, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail about in a minute. The project has been split into two phases. The first phase, which will kick off this month, is between 1300 South and 1700 South. It'll be broken up into three different segments. So they're not going to be performing work along that whole stretch at one time. So they'll do it in sections, and we'll show you kind of those sections, those segments later on. But what they will do and what people can kind of anticipate is each of those sections will take 4 to 5, maybe approximately 5-ish weeks if everything goes according to plan. Obviously, winter or unknown issues we see once we get in there can always add some time to that, but about 5-ish weeks per each of those segments. And then once that work is wrapped up, hopefully by late 2025 this year and rolling into early next year, they will do the second phase of the project between 1700 South and Utopia Avenue. We still are working out details on what it's going to look like when crews are at 2100 South, but we'll follow back up with the public and everybody on this at this meeting when we've got those details. Whether that bypass is going to, just require some lane closures or maybe some overnight work. We don't know quite yet, but we'll get those hammered out and then, of course, let everybody in the neighborhood know. So what's kind of neat about this project is the contractor is going to be using an innovative approach that allows them to reline this sewer pipe without having to do any open trenching along the line. And then I'm going to pass it on to Nikolai to explain in more detail what that process is. But as you can see in the photos, they've got a liner, that yellow fabric that they then send through the pipe. And they've got an example here going through a culvert. And then they use UV light to kind of solidify that liner on the inside. What else, Nikolai? What am I missing as I'm not the expert?
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head of what we're trying to accomplish. And there's a lot of preemptive work to come to before this. We need to get the bypass set up. We need to clean that line. We need to inspect it. We basically need to turn it off so that we can get in there and see if there's any pinhole leaks, any minor things that that could take away from the life expectancy of the future pipe. This pipe was constructed in 1922, over 100 years old. We have got our use out of it. It's time. It's not that it's in critical mode right now, but we definitely want to be ahead of that game and ahead of that curve. It's made of unreinforced concrete, if that means anybody to anything. So what this
still survive after
right,
reinforced.
I mean, sewer, I don't know if any of you have encountered the smell of sewage, but it is absolutely corrosive, nasty, dirty. So we're so grateful to have a contractor, people out there that do this kinds of work. One other thing worthy of note is, getting the sewer bypass set up, the permitting. So even though you're not seeing a lot of orange cones, there's still a lot of work going on right now, making sure we have the contractor on board, talking to you, fine folks, that sort of thing, trying to relay the message of the impacts that are going to come. So that's the best kind of spiel I could give you in about 30 seconds, maybe. So
Yeah, and I'll just add there that in lieu of needing to do that open trenching along the whole line, the way that they access the pipe to run that liner through is via manholes. So the active work you will see out there will mostly be centered around manhole locations. So and that usually entails some equipment, maybe a box truck, or it's not usually a giant footprint around that manhole. Yeah. And I do see, Tony, I do see you've got a question in the chat. I am going to answer that question once we get back to the maps. So I just don't want to leave you hanging. I will answer your question. So again, here's the map we looked at before. And as Nikolai mentioned, we're going to be needing to put in place some temporary above ground sewer bypass pipes. Those temporary pipes allow us to keep your sewer service not being impacted. There might be some few hour, maybe up to a day impact when the people right along West Temple need their sewer laterals reconnected. But in general, this shouldn't impact the larger community because those bypass pipes will be in place. That sewer service won't be interrupted. So what you can see on this map, near the top, we've got a purple call out bubble that equates to a bypass line that is going to run along the side of 1700 South, for those that might be able to see my cursor. So a small segment will be on 1700 South. There'll be it'll be a longer segment along Main Street between Merrimack Avenue and 1700 South. And that will likely run near the center of the roadway. And then it'll also run along Merrimack Avenue, and then there'll be a gap on West Temple, and then it'll also come down 1400 South and Jefferson Avenue. What that's going to mean is that left turns will be restricted. So because of that pipe, left turns coming off of Main Street or left turns leaving side streets won't be accessible. So we want to encourage those traveling through the areas and those living in the area to plan ahead. You might have to adjust your route to include only right turns for this first phase, or find an alternate route. And then I've got some more detailed maps of impacts that I'm going to go through in just a second, where we can take a closer look at what that means for West Temple and for those neighborhood streets. Like I mentioned, what to expect during construction. West Temple, while they're doing that phase 1 work and then moving to that phase 2 work, those sections will be restricted to local traffic only. We just want to decrease the amount of traffic on that street while that active work is going on. On-street parking along the east side of West Temple will also be restricted where that active work is occurring, and where that bypass is located. Some side streets might be closed along West Temple just because of that bypass and wherever crews need to be at those manholes. And then as I mentioned, for those right along West Temple, there might be brief sewer service interruptions while they reconnect those sewer laterals to that new lined pipe. But we'll let all the residents and businesses know 24 to 48 hours in advance and give everybody instructions on what they can expect during that window of no service. The contractors let me know that it might just mean you need to refrain from flushing toilets or running water down drains, and that kind of thing. And then as I mentioned, wherever the temporary bypass pipe is located, left turns will be restricted on and off that street. So moving on to some of our more detailed phasing maps, and this is where I can answer the question about Richard Street. So this map shows what the first segment of work is going to look like. So you'll see here we've got phase 1. It'll be restricted to local traffic only. And then the bypass where this dotted line is indicates the first segment of work where that sewer bypass will be in the center of West Temple. So it starts just south of Andrew Avenue, goes to 17th South. It'll be buried at 1700 South. And then it'll also have a small stretch between 17th and just past Quail Avenue. So as you can see, left turns will be restricted, no parking on the east side. And then for the question about residents on Richard Street, which I hope it's this street. Can you let me?
It is.
Okay, so this street off of Merrimack, this dead end street, I did confirm with the contractor that bypass will be running along the entirety of Merrimack. So access to Richards will be right turn in, right turn out only. One thing we did adjust, we originally thought that the purple line on here indicating those bypasses, we originally thought that those could be in place for the full duration of the project, but it's now been adjusted, so it'll just be in place for phase 1. They'll remove those bypasses along Main Street and Merrimack, 14th, and Jefferson once phase 1 is done. So it should only be for this fall. Hopefully, if the schedule goes well, it should only be for this fall. It'll be rights in and rights out only on Richard Street. Did that answer your question?
Well, yes and no, because I mean, your maps are showing no left turns, but if you're saying that they can't make a right turn, I asked because my parents own property there. They asked me to attend this.
Oh, okay.
And so you're saying right turns in and out only, but if they're coming out onto Merrimack, you're saying that West Temple is closed. So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, so West Temple won't be fully closed. It'll be available and open for the residents that live along the street and in the neighborhood. We just want to decrease, through traffic, the people that are just traveling along West Temple to get through the area. We just want to restrict that traffic, have less cars on the road, and just keep it to the people that live locally in the area.
Best of luck on that one. I grew up in that neighborhood and that's never been the case. So I wish you the best of luck there on that. My other question would be, is that you're saying that they may be without sewer for 24 to 48 hours. Are you expecting them to, and I understand it could be, but what happens if it goes longer than that? Because you can't expect a resident to live there and not use the restroom. Are you expecting them to drive over to 7-Eleven or Maverick or whatever gas stations in that area and say, hey, sorry, we got to use your bathroom now?
So it likely would never be more than a day. We would just give you 24 to 48 hours notice. The contractor says typically it's 6-8 hours tops. It's likely shorter than that, but we would give you, 24 to 48 hours notice. But they wouldn't impact that for 48 hours straight.
Okay, so I guess my question is what is the backup plan if that does happen? Because like I said, it's a rental property for my parents. And if that's the case, then they have to put their renters in a hotel for 24 to 48 hours if something happens.
Yeah, well,
So
I'll talk
does that
to the
mean
contractor.
that you will be reimbursing them for that?
Um, I can't speak to reimbursement, but I'll talk with the contractor and get some more details on, you know, what happens if something goes longer than we expect. And I can make sure to include that information in our email outreach and on the website. Yeah, let me get the details and the answer for you before. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but as of now, there isn't an expectation that it would go more than a handful of hours. So
Right.
yeah,
And
let
like I
me.
said, I'm just more concerned for their renters and for their property. It's, I mean, it's a lot to do all in one phase. I get it. And you're trying to do it the best way that you can so that's impacting the least amount of people. But it's
Mhm.
also making it extremely inconvenient for the people that live in that area by closing off Merrimack and then parts of Main Street and parts of West Temple, because you can clearly see how do they get into that neighborhood, either Main Street or West Temple.
Yep. And I do want to clarify the only service interruptions we anticipate are for the properties directly on West Temple. So we don't expect that there would be any service interruptions on Richards or Merrimack or directly on Andrew Avenue. Um, but I will gather that information and just make sure that that's a question that can be answered and included in our outreach materials for those other people that have the same question as you do. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be greatly appreciated because, like I said, if I can pass that along to them to help put their mind at ease, that's the main thing.
Yep. Yep. No problem.
24 hours is not even considerable time to be out from sewage.
Yeah. And yeah.
Even
Sure.
6 to 8 hours could be a very long time, especially if there's certain bodily functions that happen.
Right. And the contractor has like I said, they'll provide information to those that do have that short interruption. There is information on, you know, what that does look like, what you can and can't do or shouldn't do while that interruption is going on. So all of that will be clearly communicated to anybody that is affected. Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Can you talk about how that will be communicated? Are you doing flyers, or do you have everybody's phone number to, have
Yeah.
there are several large apartment complexes, as you know, on Jefferson and West Temple, and they're not always completely accessible.
Yeah. The each property that would be affected would get a door hanger. 48 hours in advance. It would include information about when that interruption is anticipated to start and for how long. So it will be hung on doors. For the apartment complexes, we would get in contact with the apartment managers and have them help us get the word out, whether by email or if they give us permission to come in and do door hangers, we would do that as well.
So my only concern with a door hanger, though, is that they can come off very easily, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, if anything, it should definitely be a mailer that actually goes to the physical address or to the owners of the property. Because if you put a door hanger on and it blows away, you have an elderly person in that neighborhood that can't use their restroom. That's going to be a big problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can look into mailers. This is going to be a moving operation, so it could be just a couple homes at a time that are impacted, and then it could be, it's not that every home on West Temple would be impacted within the same 24 or 48 hours.
Oh, no, understandable on that. Like
Yeah.
I said, but
So
but you can't predict the future either because you don't know what could happen.
right. We'll come up with a way that's like secure to make sure people are informed. The contractor is also willing to knock on doors. They don't like to impact anybody without confirming that they gotten in touch with somebody. So yeah, I'll be working directly with the contractor and making sure that we feel confident that people won't be surprised by any interruption. I'm up to you.
My question was similar to Amy's, and door hangers. When the power goes out, we get a text message often from the power company. There's a way to have a text message in addition to the door hangers that I think would be helpful for people too, because the wind could do what it does.
Yeah, well, what we would encourage, and we've got this on the postcard mailer, it can be quite a bit of work to try and get everybody's contact information, whether that's email or phone. And we always try and get as many as possible, but it just isn't possible sometimes. So if you do live in the neighborhood, please encourage your neighbors to get in contact with us. They can either email, and I've got some flyers I'll leave here, but if they received a postcard mailer, and my last slide will have my contact information as well, but please encourage anybody you know that lives along West Temple, especially, to get in contact with me, because I can most definitely call and text people in addition to whatever handouts that we do pass out, and just make sure nobody feels surprised or out of the loop or overly inconvenienced. All the this is going to be inconvenience, and we recognize that. Yeah, question. So I'm answering questions in the room for those of you that might not be able to see the whole room.
So I just want to make sure, because it seems pretty clear from what you said that it's only properties on West Temple that connect directly to the sewer line that's being lined.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Right, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
and larger flows like apartments, they actually typically bypass those as well through the cleanouts, and so the apartments shouldn't have any service interruptions.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't know if BJ's told you whether they're working at night or a lot of times they'll do those lateral relocations overnight when the sewer flows are low. And that kind of just gives them more time to hurry up, and all they do is cut it out. They have a robot that goes in there, they just cut out your lateral. Also, there's enough storage in your lateral. If you use you flush your toilet once during that time, it's not gonna cause backup.
Go ahead.
Am I reading this correctly in that, the no parking, is just south of Andrew on West Temple?
So this is the first segment that'll be worked on, and then I'm just gonna scroll to the next one. So this will be the second segment. See how that bypass line scoots over to start near the halfway up the ballpark and then ends at Harris Avenue. And then the third segment that they'll end up needing to put a bypass down the middle of West Temple is from 1300 South to just past Merrimack. So there's going to be a couple different phases of where that bypass is located on West Temple.
My concern is not having parking on the street, even if it's only on the east side. I live at the Ballpark Apartments, and the parking is on the street.
Right.
And it's a apartment building for 55 and above.
Yeah.
So I mean, they really need to park on they park on both sides, let's just say.
Can either of you explain kind of how much room that's taking, the work might take up, and why that east side parking would be restricted? My impression from the contractor is there won't be room. So
but where are they going to park then?
Yeah, we'll probably have to work out some alternate parking locations with the contractor, and see if there's side streets or what can open up. When is it a matter of, does it have to be closed for the 5-ish weeks that they're right there, or is there phasing possibilities? And we can work with the contractor to see what options might be available.
Okay, I'm just saying there's a need to resolve that.
Yeah.
Could you negotiate with the ballpark's parking perhaps, or the parking that's nearby and make that available for the residents of the neighborhood?
Yeah, we can brainstorm some ideas. Yeah.
Oh, it's used for anything now.
Yeah, I think their event schedule is pretty minimal at the end, right?
Some kind of permit for this period of time that can be given to residents in the area, so that it's not just filled with everybody, but residents will have somewhere to park.
Can also park on Merrimack, Andrews, and Van Buren.
Yeah, side streets, especially for the folks that are nearby, parking on side streets would probably be the the most obvious answer, but well, yeah, we'll discuss some alternatives.
I'm just saying, walking distances could be a problem.
Right.
For some of those residents.
Right. Yeah, we'll discuss that in our upcoming meeting for sure. Okay, am I missing other questions? Parking.
Chris asked about door hangers and flyers in Spanish.
Yep, everything we plan to do everything in English and Spanish. So the postcard that will be arriving in mailboxes has 50% English Spanish, although the map doesn't. But all of the same information is included on the postcard. Any flyers will be English Spanish, and all the door hangers will be as well. And then we do have a member of the contract team is available to help talk to residents in Spanish if they have questions. So, yeah. Other questions behind me or in the chat? Okay, all right. All right, I've got 2 more phases segments to show you. So when we get to the second phase between 17th and just past 2100 South, the first bypass segment will be north of Quail Avenue, and we'll go to about Grove Avenue. And then the second half would be Layton Avenue to 2100 South, and then it would also extend up to Utopia Avenue. But like I said, we're still ironing out some phase 2 details because we've got to work with, the 2100 South traffic. But once that information is available, we'll make sure everybody knows about what might be coming there. I'm gonna keep going, but if people have questions, we're nearing the end of the information I've got. We just wanted to mention that this effort is part of a larger effort to rehabilitate what we're calling the 1200 West Sewer Trunk Line. So in 2021, the 800 West segment between 13th South and 7th South was completed. West Temple, that is one we're gonna kick off this month. And then there's about 5 other segments that will be coming in the next 5 to 10 years. Half of those segments are much farther north, and the 1200 West segment from DuPont Avenue to Reclamation Road, that connects up to the water treatment facility. So we won't be in this neighborhood for all phases, but we do have some 1300 South segments that could be coming up in the next several years. We don't have any information on those quite yet, but we just wanted to put that out there that this is one piece of a larger effort that Public Utilities has taken on to reline our 1922 sewer line. So, yeah.
So like within not too distant memory, 1800 South was completely torn up and some major infrastructure under the street was redone. Do folks remember, anybody lived in the neighborhood 10 years? It was, I want to say it was like 2014, 2015. And that wasn't, I'm guessing that it wasn't the sewer line. I thought it was like I thought that's exactly what it was. That's why I'm asking.
I'm not sure. Brian, do you have any?
It was the creek drainage,
Oh.
From the rivers
Sure.
that run underneath.
That's right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's what I think that was.
Yeah. I guess that it likely couldn't have been the sewer since we've got a 1300 South segment from State Street to West. So yeah, must have been that.
Well, infrastructure in this area could have been a water line, it could have been a storm drain line.
Yeah, it just wasn't trivial. It was a multi-year process. Do you remember that, Jim?
I think it was created after the river ran down State Street in the 80s.
I didn't live in the neighborhood.
But I think it was, no, but I think it was more work related to that same thing.
They do a bunch of stormwater stuff.
So there was a storm water reconstruction, then they put a lot of those creeks underground underneath 13th South at a later date. That was redone again.
I'll look it up. I'll find somebody who knows. We got through it once. Suppose we can get through it again.
I'll go to the next slide. So of course, any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or I can answer them here in the room. But if you do have questions or concerns that pop up, maybe a question you didn't realize to ask here comes to mind, you can call this number. It actually goes directly to my or my colleague Holly's cell phone. So we're available to answer questions. I shouldn't say anytime, but if you leave a voicemail or send us a text, we will respond promptly if it's an emergency or within a day after. And then you can email us anytime as well at westtemplesewer@tlginfo.com. And I would actually request if you are in the meeting virtually and want to receive email updates on the project, hopefully I'm not overstepping any, but feel free to throw your email address in the chat and we'll add you to that email update list. And then I'm going to pass around a sign-up sheet in this room. If you are interested in receiving emails, just put your name and email address on the list.
I'd like to just throw out a comment to say, something inconvenient, because my wife and I live on Merrimack. It's been annoying, but I'm also excited about this project, because the idea of last night's burritos coming back up with the sewage repeatedly is not cool. So, and unless you have a special amendment on your homeowner's policy, does not cover it. So you may want to just check that, but this is good that this is happening, even though we're gonna have a little inconvenience. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything I've missed?
I definitely want to, open the floor to the library and also our street calming friends and folks like that who might have some plans that are contingent on sewer getting finished before we put in traffic calming, that kind of thing. Mary, I know you're online. If you have any questions, please, speak up.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Amy, how's it going? Good to see you all, or at least those that I can see virtually here. Yeah, just wanted to thank you all in the ballpark community and the folks on the sewer project team for all the partnership with all these projects going on. I think it's good for us in terms of working on the street, whether it's traffic calming or a crosswalk, to have kind of a street that we know won't get, torn up soon. So it does kind of work out for us that this project is happening now rather than maybe in like 3 years. And we're all connected now, internally in the city and kind of talking about our different projects. So all good on our end. And we'll stay in touch with the project team to, kind of figure out different deadlines and when we can start our work as well.
Do you know yet how the above ground sewer is going to interact with our new pedestrian infrastructure at Kensington and Main Street? We love it, so yeah, we do. I mean, not to. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can ask though.
Okay.
Yeah, Kensington and Main Street.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll ask. Yeah, because you're right. There's island.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has.
No.
Yeah, it's been good. Crossing safely.
Yep.
I can't think if there's any other major stuff in the street that, like in the middle of the road. But I'm assuming that like fire knows about all this as well.
Yeah, fire knows about it, and we've been in coordination with them because we originally thought we might have to bury the bypass so they could enter and exit, and we've adjusted the plans. So that's not impactful anymore. So yep, we've been in full coordination with them, and we'll make sure that they've got up-to-date information on our phasing so they know how to access the area if there is an emergency that they need to respond to. So
we're gonna need to work, or let's see. John and Tony, you know this, or the Gabbets or folks are gonna need to know in terms of like. I can't think if they're. Do they only enter in one side and exit one side, or do they enter and exit from
They
both
enter on
sides?
Main and they exit on Merrimack.
Okay.
Yeah, they do both.
They can do both.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's bi-directional. Yeah.
That's the way the gate opened. Because the
It's
gate,
a-
there's a garage.
It's a gate that rolls
Oh,
back,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I haven't been paying close.
I'm not making fun of
I'm
it.
just trying to think about like if you can only. They won't be able to enter from
When we
Merrimack.
walk home, we'll take.
Yeah,
That's the row of townhomes, right? On
yeah,
Main
they're,
Street.
they're,
that big Main Street, yeah.
they're stacked apartments. So
Yeah.
there's like 40 or so. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any other like logistical things like that that would be worth thinking about.
Got another question.
Oh, another question?
Oh,
We'll drive on the east side. They should still be accessible on the east side. It would just be right turn only.
Because the bypass is going down the center
The
of
center.
this.
Mhm. Yeah, we're not gonna block you into the hole.
And then turn off the service.
What preparations are in place to make sure that the bypass isn't like somebody doesn't run into it?
I asked that same question for
Besides asking nicely,
Yeah.
you're like.
Yeah. I asked that same question when we originally thought we were gonna be running a bypass in front of Big Willie's and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
They're all upstanding
Yeah.
citizens out there.
The pipes are pretty indestructible. And yeah, they'll do more damage to your car before you do damage.
Also, there is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week pump watch. So somebody physically eyes on those pumps at all times. West Temple, the Public Utilities Building, all my bosses are on that road. So I have made sure that those pumps are watched at all times. I've identified, hey, where's the copper at? Where's the things that look like copper? We had a huge meeting about the safety and security of these pumps and the pipes.
While I'm thinking of the Public Utilities Building, I know that there's a police vehicle filling station behind it that is utilized by SLCPD, so that they've moved in about this.
We'll make sure to
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be very important.
let them know right turns only.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see a question, how will this impact weekly trash pickup?
That's a great question.
We'll double check, but with the road still being available for local traffic, I imagine that pickup will not be directly impacted, but we'll make sure, we'll coordinate with the contractor and make sure that a garbage pickup truck can get in that area. There could be times where garbage cans may need to be moved a little bit. But we'll try and let people know if that's the case. Yeah, I'll find out, and then of course we'll coordinate with the trash pickup folks to make sure they know right turns only.
All right, Chris from the library's had his hand up patiently. The Ballpark Library Lab at 1400 South West Temple.
Oh, I see, from earlier.
No, he had his hand up and I asked him to unmute and then he just disappeared. But I don't know.
Hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah, that happens.
Yeah, so we talked about the limited parking for the for the library. And then also brought up the idea of working with the ballpark apartments for parking spots, so. Yes, we'll get some answers on that and identify what the parking situation might look like for the library.
So the driveways on the east side of the street won't have any access blocked,
They shouldn't, no.
because the bypass goes down the center, right?
Yeah, the plan is, I don't know if it'll be directly in the center, but
But mainly, just go back out.
I was just thinking about our exit to the parking garage.
oh, okay.
And I'm going, I can't remember what the name of the street is, but it's on the north side. And it goes,
Is it? Is it 1400 South?
it's Albemarle?
Oh, Albemarle.
It's on
Yeah.
the shaft.
Only people from Virginia know how to pronounce Albemarle, and I happen to be one of them.
That's where the exit is.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I'll take note of that.
Okay, Chris is back. Chris, I'm still asking you to unmute. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Amy. Thank you. And thank you, Jennifer, for sharing all this as well. Sorry, I got disconnected there randomly. I apologize. Thank you for all the information. I think this is really important to know and kind of starting to get some of those timelines. And I did put my email and a few other folks from the library as well. By the way, I'm with the Ballpark Library. That's right there on the corner of 14 South and West Temple. So we're also going to be heavily affected by this, but I do want to offer that we are a public space. If people do need somewhere to gather or somewhere to kind of talk about this or to have more information provided that's available publicly, this is a great space to do that. For those folks affected, especially in those dead end streets across the street, this would be a good place to just kind of get more contact info, get more project information as well. Of course, you can reach out to public utilities like they just mentioned, but I will have as much up-to-date information available there. So feel free to come on in anytime that we're open or reach out to me and we can kind of work with them as well that way. So I just wanted to offer that it's an extra space to share and to be, you know, another gathering space for those of us who are affected by it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, Chris, while we have you, how's the timeline on our super cool book pickup vending machine jig?
Yeah, I mean, unrelated, so I apologize if this is going to go a little off topic for the moment, but we actually just got those installed. Next week, we're working on finalizing all programming for that, and I'll make an official announcement, if not by the end of next week, the following week for sure, and then they're available for public use. So the way that's going to be is there are external hold lockers available 24/7, 365. You can get items, materials from any branch of the library to the ballpark location. You could pick them right up with your library card. Do not need to even come inside. So we're very excited about that. In the next week or so, that will be made live.
That's so cool. Will the library's social media account please post a video of those in action?
Oh, we're working on that already. So absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. Sorry, I don't mean to be off topic, but I know we heard about that months ago and we heard that they would be delivered sometime around now. So very exciting. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, and more sewer line questions. Thank you for entertaining our detailed questions. I'm sure we'll have more. Are there like specific weather conditions where we know like, uh-oh, stuff has to stop? Or is it just like if things get below a certain temperature or?
This process is pretty weather forgiving.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, you know, unless we get that maybe like 3 feet of snow.
That would be unusual.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of situations that would have a major impact on this work.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess the last thing is we hope to get 50 to 100 years out of this repair as well. So we have, the benchmark has been set, so we want to top that.
Which basically we all have forgotten this conversation because we'll all probably be dead.
Yes.
Yeah, possibly. It's a generational project for sure.
I don't know, John, you work out like a lot, so you're probably still gonna be around. Okay, let's move on to Daniel and the 300 West plan.
Right.
Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you again. I think the last time you visited us was March 2024.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it is. It's okay.
I want to know your face, so I'm gonna sit here.
You can yell in my face about the 300 West plan. That's
Okay.
I'd be delighted if you don't make this 300 West plan.
So let's share.
Nice.
The microphone's good here.
The microphone is good there. It's
Right.
these are like high quality
Very
mics.
nice. So not like the chaos the last time. You didn't get it.
Sorry. Yeah, that was an exciting time. See if you put up your virtual call, then I can find you and give you permission to share. I'll make you co-host. You're great. There we go.
Did this work?
It works.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so I'm Daniel Echeverria. I'm with the Salt Lake City Planning Division. We've been working on an update for the Central Pointe Station area plan, and we were here last year in March. But it's been a while and we have an update to provide, so I'm gonna give you a basic overview of what the plan covers and sort of a little reintroduction to what we were doing. So this plan is focused on the Central Pointe Station area plan. So the area extends from 17th South to 21st South and I-15 to West Temple. So the reason we're doing this plan is because the state requires all cities to update their plans around transit station areas, and that was adopted a couple of years ago. So we started this public process back in 2022, 2023. We had multiple public engagement events, did some check-ins with the Ballpark Community Council. We finally presented an initial draft to the Planning Commission in July of last year. We heard some concerns from the commission. We heard concerns from the community about some key areas in there, so we hit pause. Since then, we've worked to refine and rework some of the content here. Part of that is to reformat it to align with our other planning efforts that we're doing, the avenues in Capitol Hill, so everything kind of syncs together. We've published an updated draft as of today, so I sent a link to Amy.
Yep.
She can distribute out to the rest of the community council and take a look at that. So I'm just going to do a little brief overview of the plan, just as a reintroduction, and then talk about some of the key areas that we had some changes in. So general plans have future land use maps that guide future development decisions, like things like zoning. So this plan is divided into about 7 different areas with different focuses on particular land uses. So on the very west side of the plan along I-15, where you have Home Depot and Costco, the plan supports commercial uses like retailers, office uses. And then as you transition to 300 West, the plan transitions to a residential mixed use focus. So you would have like commercial uses on the ground floor and then residential above. Also, there could be standalone commercial uses in that area as well. And then as you get to the purple area right next to the TRAX line, the focus there is on multifamily uses, apartment uses. And then as you transition east of the TRAX line, it transitions to also residential, but scales down toward lower scale multifamily apartments, townhomes, and then single family homes, particularly in the green areas where you have those existing cul-de-sacs right off of West Temple. So to kind of illustrate the concept and the scale envisioned by the plan, there's a 3D concept model in the plan. We've revised it a little better to illustrate the supported heights in the plan. So one thing here, not everything will maximize height. We're trying to show a mix here, but even with that mix, it's not illustrating every potential thing that can happen in this area. So just in general, the plan scales down from taller buildings next to I-15 and 300 West. Scaling down as you get closer to West Temple, where you have that lower scale development pattern. So west of TRAX line generally is supported up to 12 stories. And then east of the TRAX line, you get pockets of 5 to 6 stories, more towards 17th South and 21st South. And then scaling down to 3 to 4 stories next to West Temple. And then again, in those little pockets of cul-de-sacs, it supports 2 to 3 stories. Generally, the expectation is those neighborhoods are staying the same, but they may see some infill development with paddle setbacks and heights. And again, this doesn't illustrate every potential use. So you see some of these mixed use buildings illustrated in orange. Those could end up being just commercial retailers instead of these taller buildings, and that's completely supported by the plan.
So,
go ahead.
You show residential in the parking lot of Home Depot?
Yeah, so that is a potential result of this plan. If Home Depot wanted to develop in a more compact manner somehow, or they potentially left, the plan supports more smaller commercial buildings and then some residential.
Okay.
So completely up to Home Depot what they want to do. So general plans also have policies to help establish the long-term goals for the city. So this plan establishes 4 key policy areas and key policies under each of these categories. So the first category is housing and redevelopment. The plan supports increasing density to support TRAX use and the 300 West Bikeway. It also supports increasing affordable housing with a goal of at least 12% of new housing being affordable. It supports incorporating mixed uses for activities, so it's not just purely residential buildings that end up along 300 West with no activation along the street. Want to ensure there's some retail presence, some activity for people along the street. And then it also supports existing businesses, helping retain those existing businesses and supporting new businesses in the area. And then another focus is transportation connections. It supports new streets that help break up the large blocks along 300 West, mega blocks. It supports improved pedestrian and bicycle crossings. One in particular is on 21st South of the TRAX line. And it also supports a TRAX greenway or urban trail. And then another key focus here is open space. The plan completely recognizes that there is a lack of open space in this area. There is no park space in this plan area. So the plan supports new private and public open spaces, including park spaces, and in particular green spaces. And then urban design, the plan has a bunch of urban design policies to help guide 17th South, 21st South, 300 West. You can see one rendering of what the plan is supporting for 21st South in the long term was wider park strips, wider sidewalks, an activity zone, sort of a front yard where you could have outdoor dining or some sort of sales. But we have concepts for 17th South, 300 West, and 21st South that are very similar. So as far as those transportation connections, this map shows those proposed connections. You can see those dash lines in green and light blue of future streets or mid-block walkways that help break up the large mega blocks along 300 West. So this would happen with new development, with developers come in to build new buildings. They would be required to install these new mid-block walkways or pedestrian connections through these sites. Another thing here is the new pedestrian crossing that I mentioned at 21st South and TRAX. That is a high priority. The plan supports that as one of the highest priority connections here. We know there's a lot of jaywalking to get to the TRAX station, and we know it's a safety concern. So it definitely supports working with UDOT, working with South Salt Lake to get that in. It also supports a linear plaza along 21st South. So you sort of saw that in the diagram in the last slide. Where we have those wider sidewalks, wider park strips to make it a more comfortable environment, or particularly next to the TRAX station where you could potentially get a lot of pedestrian activity ultimately.
And you said you were going to South Salt Lake on that pedestrian crossway, but the development you're proposing on the north side of 21st South, what is South Salt Lake's response to that since they own the south side?
About putting a connection there?
No, just the type of development you showed for 21st South.
They have a plan that they just adopted a few months ago that also supported mixed uses or around the TRAX line. So I think they're pretty congruous. They mesh pretty well. They also call for a crossing there as well. So similar types of uses around the TRAX station are proposed there too. And then one other thing that the plan also supports that greenway along the TRAX line. That would be like a green urban trail that runs along the TRAX line, would extend from Central Pointe Station all the way to Ballpark Station. So we did hear some concerns about that last year, though. Concerns that there wasn't enough right-of-way within the UTA TRAX right-of-way, and that is completely true. There is not enough right-of-way in that area to support a trail. So the city would have to, in the long term, purchase properties along the TRAX line to help widen the available space for a trail, or could potentially include zoning requirements to ensure that any developments that happen along that install their portion of the trail as part of their development sites. And one other thing that wasn't in the plan previously was ensuring there's a connection all the way to Ballpark Station. So that has supported exploring a connection. So you get all the way to Ballpark Station with this greenway trail that then links into the 9 line and then the downtown green loop. So it's not just an isolated segment there. And one thing to be clear, this is not meant to replace the need for public parks. The plan supports new parks independent of this trail. So slide for public open space. Open space is definitely needed in this area. There is no public open space in this area. The closest thing we have is the ballpark playground, just north of 17th South. So this plan supports new public park spaces east of 300 West, where we're anticipating the most residential uses to develop. The goal is to increase the park level of service in this area to at least 3.5 acres per 1,000 residents. That is the city average, but this area is definitely under that city average, so we want to hit that mark at least. The plan also supports ensuring parks within a half mile of all residents. So potentially there could be park space developed north of 17th South, potentially at the public utility site. But even so, if that happened, this plan still supports putting some open space, big park spaces, small park spaces within this area so that people have actual walkable access to park space. And another key thing here is the supports green open spaces overall, both public and private. So there would be private open space requirements, new developments going in. There's an expectation there's open space included, and then there's a certain level of trees and vegetation included with that. And then this also supports significant trees and other vegetation in any public open spaces that are developed. And then one other thing we heard were concerns about the regional commercial, not enough support for retaining those uses in this area, ensuring we have local shopping opportunities. So we refined the commercial land use policies a little bit to make it clear that the plan supports the area continuing to serve local and regional shopping needs. And to do that, it supports zoning flexibility for business expansions, remodels to ensure that they're not just leaving the city and resulting in us having to commute outside of the city for shopping.
I just want to make a point, like, I don't think it's, when you think about things like regional commercial, it's not just that it serves the neighborhood, it's that it serves as a valuable tax base for the city. That world's largest Costco does, in 2023 to 2024, they did 480 million in sales. And so, well, I mean, it contributes to our city budget in a demonstrable way. If we lost that, property taxes wouldn't replace it.
Yeah, it would take a lot of development for property taxes to replace all that. Yeah, it would be it. So yeah, this definitely supports retaining those for multiple reasons. Yeah. And then as far as next steps, we sent out the revised draft. We've updated the website as well at bit.ly/300 West plan. We're hoping to collect some additional feedback and then take it to the planning commission for a public hearing and recommendation, potentially in early October, potentially later October, and then send it to the city council for a decision later after that. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a couple. Just as far as open green space, or it will probably be private, to make sure that we're getting what we need, would you do some sort of percentage base, on a apartment building? Or I don't know if there's another means of doing that, but
yeah, for private open space, which we would require with any new development, there'd be a certain percentage of the lot that would have to be open space, and there'd be a certain percentage of that would have to be vegetated. That could be 20%, 30%, 10%, something that ensures that there's usable areas, but there's also still green space.
And then this a little bit stems off of that. How building setbacks are an issue for me. And I guess because you're showing these really nice streetscapes, is there a way not to entertain requests for setback reduction?
I think people could still come in and request those reductions, but I think having some policies in the plan that support, active spaces and not just the building right up against the sidewalk, especially when there's not much of a park strip or walkable area. I think we could still point to those if they come in for those sort of requests and say, hey, the plan actually supports this. So it does provide a basis to say maybe the reduction shouldn't be along this part of the street.
Or that they have a front yard setback.
Yeah. And there are minimum setbacks and there's support for setbacks depending on the street type. Maybe you're very close to the traffic and we need some sort of setback to create that walkable area. Yeah.
The sort of like green corridors and park strips, which I'm hoping they'll have some nice trees in there because that'll provide a bit of a park atmosphere for people that are going about their normal daily business, right? But part of that, part of my question is that area for that park strip going to come out of the current road right of way? Because I mean, Third West is like a freeway, essentially sized like a freeway, so people drive it like a freeway. And I mean, if we're trying to improve the walkability and if there's a lot of people living there, we're ideally going to have more transportation opportunities that don't involve cars. For those residents, right? Are we going to see some like road diet features or anything like that? Something to reduce the speed on Third West?
So that'd be pretty far out. The 300 West is just recently improved. So the plan takes that in consideration and it doesn't call for changes in the park strip for 300 West, knowing those were recently put in. There's not a lot of room for changes. Things like 21st South, UDOT has control of that streetway, so we can't move that curb line. But with new development, we could potentially remodel the park strips and the sidewalks, and potentially the property owners could have to dedicate some right of way to the city with new tall development that widens that area to make it comfortable. 17th South, there might be more opportunities for potentially moving the curb line, but I think those have to be conversations with transportation and they'll be further out. These are kind of just high level plans, and then implementation would be getting all the city departments to talk about an implementation plan.
I'm super interested in the multi-use trail that y'all were talking about going along the tracks line. You're saying there's a lack of right of way. First of all, what side of tracks were you envisioning that being on? Do you happen to know?
So this is very high level.
Yeah, okay.
So
Gotcha.
I did not get into the details. They just kind of did a cursory look. We have this much right of way.
Yeah.
The rail line veers around sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes there's utility equipment that would be in the way. So we had a lot of analysis that was required.
Is the lack of right of way prevalent all the way from 21st to 13th, or is it just like specific spots? Is it like the whole thing? Do you know?
I think the whole thing would require at least some additional land like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I know it's a little bit in the weeds, but like, do you know if any of the bikeways or dedicated walkways for any development would be grade separated? I ask because like, I love the 300 bikeway, but it's also extremely dangerous because it's not grade separated. And yeah, I mean, because people just yeet into the parking lots, yeet into the residential streets, not looking, and if it was grade separated, which it should have been originally, instead of the path dipping down to them, people would have that physical engineered, tactile or, feedback of, oh, look, there's a path here, because I have to go up onto it and slow down. Yeah, I would request that any new paths should be grade separated to slow drivers down so they aren't hitting pedestrians and cyclists and other non-motorized users. And that was a gross oversight, not only for the 300 West, but also for the 900 South line and many other paths. You're like, I don't understand why they're not grade separated, because there's no incentive for people not to be doing 30 miles an hour through our wide radius curved turns in this state.
Yeah. That is a detail that gets very in the weeds, and so this scale of plan doesn't get into those technicalities. I think with any sort of new bikeway planning, we would talk to transportation about that and have a conversation about those concerns. But this is so high level, it wouldn't get so specific with those new bikeways. Right? Yeah.
So the plan talks a little bit about, forgive me, I don't know the abbreviation that has an H and a T and a Z in it, and I always get the word.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that? And I know there's a certain percentage of housing that needs to be affordable for us to qualify for that zone that has certain funding that could come with it, and that's why we're interested in it. But when would like the clock start on us saying like, okay, starting at this point for this many years, this percentage of housing was affordable, therefore we qualify?
So the HDRZs, the Housing and Transit Reinvestment Zone. So the state legislature implemented this tool that cities can use. They essentially draw an area around a track station and say, a certain percentage of property tax revenue from these properties is gonna go straight back into this area. So it could help improve infrastructure, implement new park areas, could go toward affordable housing. So
Too bad it's not sales tax. We could get that done. It'd be split.
be a lot there.
Yeah.
So what the city would have to do would have to draw one of those boundaries around the track station. And a requirement to even implement one of these HTRZs is the city establishing a minimum amount of affordable housing that would have to come in within a new development project.
So that's gonna be real, you probably appreciate this. That's gonna be real easy to meet if the housing authorities rezone that they were gonna present tonight, but then they backed off because they don't actually know the affordability level yet or the ownership opportunity. There are a lot of details that are not firm yet.
Okay.
But we're gonna hit that threshold really fast as long as the housing authority builds that faster than they're building Book Cliff Lodge.
Yeah. We could potentially get creative with the boundary.
No, I mean, it's in the boundary.
It's in the boundary of this, but there's additional restrictions on how far the HTRZ can go out. So it can't necessarily go all the way out a half mile up to 17th South. I have to look at the technicalities. There are like
Okay.
5 different location, non-contiguous
That
areas.
because
so-
that would get the box checked straight off.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be checked right off the bat. We can establish the HTRZ and then require new development anywhere to start putting in at least a certain 12% affordable housing.
All right. My other super in the weeds question, since other people aren't raising their hands earlier. So the state law requires there to be a stationary plan.
Yep.
We don't actually even have the stupid station. Central Pointe, worst name ever, since there are 3 different track stations that have central in the name. And it's not obvious, the center of what? The station isn't in our city. Why are we required to make a plan?
So the point of that is to ensure that cities that are around a transit station are actually planning for new housing around those track stations. So even though we're across the street, the expectation is that Salt Lake is doing its part to build new housing to help resolve the housing crisis. So that's the point of the city having to do this plan here.
Well, bless their hearts. Like, shouldn't this be presented in immediate conjunction with the South Salt Lake Station Area Plan?
So they did just adopt theirs a
Okay.
couple months ago.
Okay.
So, and they similarly support a lot of new housing around their track stations.
Yeah, I mean,
on their
we've seen
side.
it.
Yeah.
It's there. It's
Yeah.
humongous.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're both getting this plan through the process this year.
Alrighty.
Just last question, sorry, there's not gonna be any additional crossings over the tracks line in this?
So-
plan, or
Thank
is
you,
there?
Aaron.
Oh,
No,
Oh, good.
that's a really
Yeah.
important question.
yeah, that's what it-
It does support potentially a couple crossings. One would be at 1830 South Adventure Way. I don't know if you can see
point
that
that out,
mouse.
please.
Can you see my mouse?
That's
sort of
okay.
Sort of right there, and then sort of here. So this would only be if this property redeveloped. So this is an existing industrial property. You can stay there as long as he wants, continue business. But if you did
Is that
redevelop,
like,
this
that-
could be a
that's
connection point.
the wood place? I can't think of,
Yes.
what's the
Intermountain.
Intermountain Wood? Yeah.
Yep. So if you redevelop and there was a way to get a crossing through there, the other impact there is that putting new crossings could potentially reduce the speeds of the
Right.
train. So we have to balance all of that.
I mean, you would hope.
So it is a very high level idea
Yeah,
that getting into the weeds, I don't know how it's going to work out exactly.
sure.
We have, I mean, somebody just got killed by a tracks train yesterday, unfortunately, and we have had a pedestrian death by tracks at 17 South. So we do,
If we go-
it's something we're.
Over it or under it would be nice, for a pedestrian pathway or.
So this establishes the policies, and if funding is found for the long term for that, that's something that could be implemented, yeah. And then it does support overall improving the pedestrian crossing experience at all these places too.
Is the all the codes and stuff that are going to be created for the housing, the new housing, is there going to be like a by right zoning type setup where, you know, if somebody comes in and presents a project that meets all your requirements, it's approved and ready to go?
Pretty much, I think. We have existing zoning in place that I think would support most of this. We just finished a big consolidation of all our zones and tried to make it as easy as possible for people to build what the city supports. So yes, and especially affordable housing, they can even ask for modifications because it is affordable, and we know we need that affordable housing.
Have you engaged with UTA on this?
Yes, yep. So they were part of the team that developed this plan and checked in on the plan regularly.
I just mean since the revisions, since when I reached out to UTA last year and said like, tell me about how this linear park works, and they were like, it doesn't.
Yes, so yeah, we reached out, had that content actually ready to go. Right after our meeting, we talked with UTA and got that all in place. So that part of the plan language has been sitting for a year. The other stuff, we worked with other departments, city departments to refine.
Because there's been some new apartment buildings right along TRAX line on the west side where there is an extra large buffer, and did you guys, I assume you guys planned that for this potential.
Some of that was just happenstance, I think. They just want to put parking along the TRAX line. Come on. So I think some of that was just parking areas. So those could be converted if the city wanted to purchase that property potentially in the long term. Great. That's all I got.
Interesting. Oh, green roofs. The plan, you sent this to me very, very quickly before the meeting, and I just had the ability to skim. There was stuff in there about green roofs. Roofs.
Roof.
How did those work in terms of like what do those count towards, or is there anything in zoning that requires or not even incentivizes the creation of green roofs?
Yeah, so generally the zoning has a specific amount of the lot area that needs to be open space.
Right.
And if they're able to put that on the roof and comply with the 3D and vegetation requirements, they can do that. So it could be a potential on some of these like concrete parking structures to accommodate some of that. Otherwise, it is pretty difficult for a standard 7-story building to incorporate that big roof. There's fire code and building code restrictions that make it tough for them.
Too bad, they're neat. Okay.
Well,
Good.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll ask more in the weeds questions about that particular zoning somewhere. Brandy, I'm gonna mute you. Unless you have a specific question.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to unmute myself. My phone has been a nightmare. I've been trying to connect for a while, so I'll mute myself again.
You're good. Thank you for coming up, Brandy. Always like to have you.
I was in the park. You dealing with the you-know-who's again.
Brandy, please be careful.
Sorry,
I just muted you, but I do want you to be careful. Brandy lives in Central City. There's some parks in her neighborhood that have some significant issues. All right, we got one more biggish thing on the agenda. We also got Josh from the mayor's office who's gonna talk to us about some city events and public engagement. Let's see. Kayla, how are you doing? Oop.
I'm doing well. I'm trying to turn my video on. It says I'm disabled by host.
Because I was trying to find you to make you a co-host. That's the easiest way. All right, good doink. Make co-host. You should have the power to show whatever you want. Hi, Michaela. Tell us about the Fleet Block open space and what we can do.
Yes, let me get my slides up. Thank you for giving me some time on the agenda tonight. I'm a little bit of a last minute addition, so I appreciate it. I will be going through a short slide presentation and then hopefully we'll have a time for a little bit of a discussion at the end of this. But my name is Michaela Maponga. I'm a planner with Salt Lake City Public Lands. And I'm the project manager over this current phase of work for the Fleet Block Public Open Space. So the project is really centered on 8.5 acres of city-owned land on what is known as the Fleet Block. It's bounded by 3rd and 4th West and 8th and 9th South. Most people know it as the block where the former murals were located. Shown in the image here, you can see a rough outline of how the city is taking this underutilized block and cutting it up into a couple different projects that are all moving a little bit simultaneously. But this is what the ultimate goal will be. It is 3 private development sites and then a roughly 3-acre public space in the southeastern corner. In addition to that, we have these mid-block streets that will cut through the block to help break it up a little bit. And this southern dotted line you see will be a pedestrian-only walkway, pedestrian and cyclists. So in addition to the public space, we're also going to be including a new public artwork that'll be commissioned by the Salt Lake City Arts Council. So we're working really closely in this phase of the project. And the goal is really to create a space and an artwork that talk to each other, that work really well cohesively, and really honor the themes of social justice that were so many people knew about the block, what it came to represent through the murals. So one of our goals here is to really signify a welcoming, inclusive, and just city in both the public space and in the artwork. About the murals, they appeared on the buildings on the block back in 2020 by a collective of anonymous artists, and those buildings were demolished earlier this year. Prior to their demolition, there was a virtual 360-degree tour as well as individual professional photos of the murals to document them and have them available to the public moving forward. So you can scan that QR code and it'll take you right to a page where you can access those resources. This phase of work, the goal is really to develop a vision plan for the public space. So this image is a tiny bit out of date. We're now in September, but you can see here we launched this project back in March, and we've been doing a lot of on-the-ground work, just preparing, bringing our consultant up to speed. We have brought on Sasaki Associates to help us with this phase of work. We began our current engagement period. We're currently in the first phase of engagement, and that includes an online survey, community presentations just like this, and we also have a series of community conversations, and information about those is online. Our survey is open until September 12th, so please take a look at that. It's on shapeslc.gov, I believe.
Just throw the link into the chat.
Thank you so much. So the goal of this phase of engagement is really to collect the broadest ideas. What do people want to see? What do people not want to see? What is important about the neighborhood and the residents that are here? And what we'll do is we'll take all of that feedback and we'll develop 3 concept alternatives. So 3 different ideas of what the space could look like. And the goal for those alternatives is to really be fairly different and represent kind of a broad range of ideas that we heard. And in our second phase of engagement, which is now scheduled for November, December of this year, we'll be presenting those concepts back to the public and asking what elements of each concept do you like the best? We might ask a question that says, what is your overall favorite? But really you'll have an opportunity to say, I like this about this one. I like this about this one. And then we'll take all that feedback again back into our third phase where we'll take what people enjoyed, what people liked about each of the concepts, and merge it all together to develop our final concept design. And we'll go back out to the public early next year to share what that final vision is. Just a little bit more about the site. This is the neighborhood. It's located technically in the Granary District as well as in the ballpark. You can just see how it's oriented compared to some of the other major landmarks in the area. This is a primarily light industrial space. It's the first and only public space in this area. So this really is an exciting opportunity to take what has long been an abandoned site and really turn it into a community amenity. Before the demolition, you can see in orange, that's the city-owned area. That southwestern corner is about 1.5 acres and owned by a private developer already. So we're really just thinking about this 8.5 acres in orange. And you can see the footprint of the former buildings and where the murals were located around the perimeter. And this is just showing again what the future vision for the block will be. There are 3 developers that have been brought on. You may have seen some news. I want to say it was 2 or so weeks ago now. We've brought on Mercy Housing, Brinshore Development, and Brinshore Development for sites A and B. And then that private developer that was on the southwestern corner acquired the rest of that quarter to create this development site C, and that's Century Financial. So those will likely be mixed use developments. Their selection process has now concluded, and so we will kind of use this opportunity to think about the developments. The city's also developing the street design at the same time. So really this is all happening all at once, so that way we can all be talking together, making sure that they're responsive to each other, and that all of these different elements really feel cohesive at the end. And as Daniel kind of mentioned in his presentation, this public space is really important and really valuable because there is so little in this area. This is our lowest level of service across the city as far as public space and parks. There is 0 open spaces within a 5-minute walk, although we are located along the 9-line trail and the future green loop. There are currently 0 open spaces within a 5-minute walk, 2 open spaces within a 10-minute walk, and this will also include the future meet-up space, future/ongoing meet-up space. So that will be 3 in the near future. And then 3 open spaces, you get Pioneer Park when you open it up to a 15-minute walk. But at this point, you're crossing major roads, you're crossing freeways. It's not super accessible. So this is a really important opportunity to be able to address needs that are really not being addressed at all right now. Any questions before we move into a discussion?
Michaela, I apologize. I asked you this before at our when you went through this great presentation at Woodbine last week. Can you remind us where the track station is going to go in relative to the site?
It will be somewhere on 4th West. So on the west side of the development of the flea block.
Thank you.
Yes. Great. So with that, I'd like to really just open it up. I have some discussion questions here to help guide any ideas, but I would love to have any feedback that you'd like to share. So my first question, picturing the fleet block open space about 5 years from now or 5 years from opening, what would feel successful and meaningful to you and to your neighborhood?
Folks, I'd love to see some answers thrown in the chat. We're already sending this transcript to folks. Why not? Why not brainstorm? I'd love to see some art in the space.
I'd love to see lots and lots of trees. Lots of trees. I'd also love to see an opportunity for some sort of community garden in the space as well. And then I love the outdoor exercise equipment that you find in some parks. It's a good way to kind of activate the space.
Erica, I like your comment about a community garden because folks who've lived in the neighborhood for a while might remember that there was a substantial community garden on 9th South and 2nd West. And there's even some history that's been collected by the University of Utah students about it, how it was like a really progressive space for the neighborhood for a while before development took off in Central 9th.
Pavilion meeting space.
Shade. You know, we're like, we're gonna want those trees, but they're gonna take a while before they're gonna provide meaningful shade.
Can I go back to whoever said the pavilion or event space? What types of events are you imagining?
I don't know, there's a lot of people right there. They may want to have with potential development. I don't, I don't know, just, I thought maybe like an amphitheater, but then I thought that could probably take up a lot of space. Just
like to see this area connected to, Central Nine, some of these other parts of the city that are becoming a little more walkable, a little more, there's a little more going on. So that these people that end up living there aren't just isolated over there. I mean, they'll have their park and such, but it'd be nice to make sure that they have. It's easy to get around from there to other places in the city.
Yeah, I'd love to see, even per the conversation before about what did you call the TRAX line potential? What was the name of that? The greenway to extend beyond Ballpark Station along the tech link into like that would take sort of a pathway from Jefferson Park directly into this area. I think that could be really effective if there's going to be that tech link anyway, that they actually plan that way and not just stop at Ballpark Station if possible, because it just continued on. The space is already there and it's being used right now in ways that it should not be used. So
it's true.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think from an architectural standpoint, everything being human scale, feels like everything in the city is like made for cars. So everything's big and wide and tall. Whereas like you think about the most walkable spaces in the city or any good city, they're human scale and not car scale or F-150 scale. So yeah, keeping things human scale so that people do want to interact and get together. I want to see humans in this place. I don't want to see giant trucks. I want to see humans. So
Great. Fraser, tell me more about the railroad, reclaimed railroad.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Amy. So the idea there is to take the railroad line that's not used between Jefferson Park and up to the Fleet Block and connect it. That was an idea that came up during a number of the Ballpark Next citizen-led initiatives during that competition. We've seen it happen in other communities. I thought that's what Aaron, you were asking about, but I think that'd be a terrific connection.
Absolutely.
Like a rails to trails.
Yeah. That's a great idea. So I heard the community garden, I heard exercise equipment, and I heard graffiti park, event space. I heard lots of other features like trees and shade, but I'm wondering, are there any other activities specifically that, would require some infrastructure that you're thinking of there as far as uses in the space?
I know this came up last time, but I just want to bring it up again because I was so impressed with I can't remember who it was in the Granary District Alliance who brought it up, but have power on the site so that food trucks or performers or anybody can plug into it, because nothing kind of takes the zing out of a green space like a generator, like
yeah.
So it'd be lovely to be able to have those gatherings without the smell and noise of generators going.
Connected to that, thinking about opportunities, maybe also connected to the pavilion concept, is ways to listen to music and have local music, local artists, ways to plug in. So it's not a generator, but some ways to amplify and experience music. Because Kilby Fort is not too far from there, so it's an opportunity to kind of amplify that scene.
Like, honestly, I was thinking almost like the pavilion at Gallivan. It's a little bit raised, it's a little bit of the stage. And a grass area.
Yes.
That would kind of be an amphitheater, but not hard. Not a hard surface, a grass area where people can sit and enjoy.
These are such great ideas.
I would love where you have something along the line of Cook Tram Park. Down in Pleasant Grove, it's huge, it's got an amazing playground, like a world-class playground for kids. It draws families from all over, we drive all the way down to Salt Lake to Pleasant Grove to go to the playground. It's got areas for scooters, skateboard, little skateboard park, and just.
Yeah, skateboard park.
It's an area that invites the community to come in. And if we were to invite the community into that area, the community would expand further. Probably also make the area a little bit safer. The tracks is right there, be a nice tracks destination.
One thing I will point out, due to us living in this state of Utah, one of the challenges about integrating new public spaces is that there are limitations on what you can do within certain distances of establishments that are licensed as bars. So we will likely be unable to provide a playground in this area just because we do want to be respectful and we want to honor businesses like Fisher and TF that are all right there. But that means that there are limitations for this space. But a skate park, I think, may be on the table. So I have noted both of those.
What if we call it an adult playground? I mean,
yeah.
That's mischievous. That's already.
You know, I mean, let's go.
Sorry, too easy of a joke.
You know, just make it adult size, so like the kids could potentially hurt themselves on the playground, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we are gonna try to get creative for sure here. Well, thank you for that. My next question, which is honestly a little bit of the same, but getting into it a little bit more, just wondering if there are any specific design features that you want to see or anything that should be really specifically avoided in the space. I think we talked a lot about what we do want to see, so maybe we can focus this question on like what things we maybe don't want to see or things that we don't think would be very well used in the community, things that you see at other parks that maybe go unused as you're, say, at Jefferson or at others in the area.
Definitely love to see trees, and I definitely would not like to see parking lots. Parking lots are huge waste of space.
That's a great comment.
Plenty of bike racks because you've got the bike.
Yes, love the bike racks.
Or the bike
Yes.
spa type of thing where people can fix or take care of their bikes.
Yeah, a little pump, little, yeah.
I think well lit at night would be also, the Prius said in some of the comments up there. Okay.
Limited hard surface.
Maybe some area where you could have like, they have like rotating selections of food trucks in various places, you know, where they could actually park somewhere where people can get their food and immediately sit in the grass.
Great comments. I do have one more question that I want, at least one more that I want to ask, but I'll take this time to just talk about the next steps. As I mentioned, we do have a survey that's live right now. Ignore this where it says closes August 31st. It closes on September 12th. So please take some time to just give your feedback on that survey. It's super helpful for us and we take it really seriously. And we will be back again with another round of opportunities like this to have community discussion and discuss the concept alternatives that we'll be putting together based on this round of feedback. And I'll also drop my contact information in the chat in case you want to follow up with anything else. But But at least one more question that I wanted to get to was just asking about if there were any aspects of the murals that were on the fleet block that you appreciated and want captured in the public artwork that's to come.
Fountains was
there were just
cities removing fountains because of the water.
He's had
Someone says lots of flower gardens and fountains of it.
Yeah, it's a hard, fountains are a tough one with like 7 canyons, right?
Yeah.
Like, gosh, I miss it. It
Yeah.
was such a lovely thing. And it's hard to think about, like, if that didn't work, what, yeah, I wish it had worked, but
Yeah.
I like the cohesion of the murals. I thought it was great how they all echoed each other.
Any messages that stand out that you would want conveyed in the artwork, or any qualities about the artist or how it integrates into the space? I know some people want one big thing right in the middle, and some people want small pieces all around that you can experience as you walk through the public space. Any thoughts or preferences on that?
Smaller ones that lead you towards the big one. Send them builds the message as it goes.
I love that idea.
thinking, they're integrating throughout would be good.
I'd love the art to be functional, to do some of these things that other folks are talking about. Like, if you think about environmental justice, if the art could be like incorporated shade until the trees get larger or something like that.
Well, that is all I have for right now. Again, I will drop my contact information in the chat. If you go to shapeslc.gov, you'll also be able to sign up for our project newsletter so that you can stay up to date as we go through our next phases, and you'll get all of our project updates. And I believe we are also going to be pushing out information regarding the development as well. So if you wanted to just stay in the loop, you can use that. Amy, you're so on top of it. You can use that link. You can find the Fleet Block project page, and then you will stay in the loop with not just the public space and the artwork project, but all of the aspects of Fleet Block that are currently ongoing. If there are no last questions for me, then I will wrap up there.
Thank you, Michaela. We're excited to hear another set of options for our public space that we can discuss. We're good at that. We've had practice.
That is my favorite part of the project, is seeing all of the ideas and the pictures and getting to vote. That's my favorite part.
Josh, do you want to give us any last hits from the mayor's office events?
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Encouragement to take more stuff on shapeslc.gov.
I do have more on Shape SLC actually. Let me. You made me co-host here. I actually do have something to share instead of my face. So let me
You are
give you.
co-host. Share away.
All right. Oh yeah, that is right. Okay. There we go. So first of all, CIP applications for fiscal year 2026 into 27 are open. They open September 1st and they're open through October 1st. And everyone, I think most here are familiar with CIP and what it is, improvements on city-owned assets that cost at least $50,000, have a useful life of 5 years or longer, and include an aspect of community buy-in, community outreach. So that is currently open, and feel free to visit that website and also get assistance from the CIP team that works on these applications. Next, oops. The 2026 ACE Fund applications will open October 1st. This is our fund for events throughout the city. So there is even more funding available every year generally. And so we hope to continue funding the events that have been going on and hopefully fund new events that pop up. On Shape SLC, you can take the Safe Streets Action Plan survey. That is a goal related to the Vision Zero that Mayor Mendenhall has set a goal for our city, and to reduce traffic injuries and deaths. And you can actually take a survey now through September 14th to let the city know, let our transportation division know your suggestions for accomplishing that goal, and pointing out specific places and areas in the city where you currently feel unsafe, and in it that will be used to make this Safe Streets Action Plan that we implemented citywide to take more data-driven steps to make our streets safer. Next, our water conservation program has a new water conservation plan, and they are inviting people to a couple open houses. As you can see, one of them already happened, but there is upcoming one in the city on September 17th at the Sorensen Unity Center from 5 to 7 p.m. And you can learn more about the city's water conservation plan and provide feedback on that. A couple board and commission vacancies as well. The Peanut Board, which is Parks and Natural Lands, Urban Forestry and Trails Advisory Board, currently has an opening citywide. So anywhere in the city can, if you are residing within the city, can apply to serve on that board. Also, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission currently has openings in districts 1 and 2. So I know it's outside of our area here for Ballpark, but if you happen to know anyone that live in District 1 or 2, that would be a good candidate for the Planning Commission. Please let them know to apply. And lastly, of course, the MySLC mobile app. Please provide your feedback to us on your experience with the app, and feel free to reach out to me to ask, to get some information on if you've put in a request and want to see the status of it. We can take a look into that for you. But yeah, that is about all I have for tonight. Made it quick, and happy to take any questions if there are.
I would just encourage everybody who's at all interested in infrastructure to think about a CIP application. It can take multiple times to successfully apply if you're so lucky. How many times have you applied for? There's a knowing nod happening in the room.
Well, the running joke is you'll never get it on your first time.
No, you won't. So yeah,
you got to at least do it once the first time to get through the process, and then keep trying and
get
trying.
More stakeholders on board. Kensington Avenue Byway started as a CIP application that I submitted in 2019, and then I submitted again in 2020. You got a whole bunch more stakeholders on board, including the Utah Pride Center, Innovations High School, Whittier, and I'm forgetting a couple. But it only took from 2019 to 2025 for us to get our crosswalk. That's a success, sort of. But it can be shocking how much infrastructure and paint costs, even just paint. The lane reduction on 17th South started as a CIP application, and just doing changes in paint, not changes to curb, for 3 blocks was about $200K. So
I learned that zebra stripes cost $7,000.
Yes. I know.
Yeah.
It hurts my soul.
It hurts my little heart.
Yeah, and if you do it with the durable paint, it's, you know, the stuff with the grounds,
Yeah.
the reflective bits in it, yeah, anyway. So you can get to 50 grand really fast, is all I'm saying. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm from Liberty Wells Community Council. My name's Jeff Barrett. So, our board was talking about you mentioned 1700 South.
Yes.
The traffic is just crazy. And I don't, if potentially go together on some kind of CIP for 17 South to try and slow it down more, or what can be done.
Lane, what's your idea?
I don't know that I just other members of the board like got to do something about 1700 South traffic, and I don't know, but I just throwing that out there. If you guys can think of anything, I'm sure our board would be willing to work together.
So I just went to the Central City Neighborhood Council meeting last night. And there's somebody there who's also interested in doing some crossings on 17 South, even though he knows it's Troy, it's outside of the neighborhood. But sounds like there could be a 3 community council collaboration there. That's the more stakeholders you get on board, the more likely you're going to be successful.
Raise the visibility, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to, let's chat. So as we can get past 50K pretty fast.
Very fast.
But if there are other ideas in the room, even if this is something that you're like, well, we don't need it right now, let's start building momentum now, so maybe we can get it through in a year or 3.
And there were, I think, 8 traffic calming CIP grant requests this past funding round. None of them were funded, but it raised visibility. We knew we weren't going to get funded, but we just said raise visibility with the city, let them know that the neighborhood, the community is aware of it, and it's a concern and an issue. So.
Oh, Dennis Ferris says Poplar Grove got a traffic circle through CIP.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Do you have an idea, Janice? I heard it happen. I heard it hit.
No, but all of a sudden it came across because you sent that text to us about the campus.
Oh, yes.
The homeless campus?
Yes, earlier this week, yesterday, 2 days ago. The homeless campus site, but I have no idea of time anymore. It's like important. Yes, the homeless campus location was announced. Do you have a question about it, or just
bringing it up? I just have some friends who are going the same thing. It's on the west side again.
Well, I think the homeless campus is going to raise some really interesting questions, because we know from experience in our neighborhood what it's like to get homeless resources and then not get them sufficiently funded in terms of having the wraparound services that they were planned to have. So I think whatever we can do to support overall policies to say, the wraparound services they're not extra, they're part of it. And it's also going to be interesting to see once that campus gets up and running. Right now they're saying 2027. What does that mean for the other homeless resource centers dispersed across the city? How are those going to be repurposed and used to serve community members? So I think there's a lot of interesting questions in that.
Is it supposed to take the place of those, or something, or are they in addition?
In addition.
That's what I think that's my impression was.
As well.
It's 4 miles from the bus stop.
I heard a half mile, John.
I went a half as well. Maybe it's 4 miles as opposed to trash station. I mean, regardless, 1.5 mile walk from the middle of nowhere, but nothing but roads around and you could kill.
I mean, Frank, we had to beg for infrastructure just at the men's shelter that was put in at 33rd South because they didn't have crosswalks.
Yeah.
And there were people who were killed there immediately in the street. It was awful.
And it's also in a wetland too, which means lots of mosquitoes.
Well, It's right next to the mosquito abatement district office. So actually, I think the resources are right there to deal with that.
So they take mosquitoes, they could, might not be able to get onto a train or
There
a
are
bus.
people staffing our mosquito abatement office, John. I can introduce you.
I hate mosquitoes.
There's science happening there, good citizen science. All right, we've all done well today. We've engaged. It's 8:52. Thank you, everybody, for signing in online. Thank you, everybody, for coming in person. We got some engagement to do about throwing some ideas about CIP around. Sounds like we've got at least half dozen surveys that we can answer in the next month. Sounds good. Thank you all for your time tonight. Okay, thank you, Dennis. Good, good, good. All righty. Ta-ta.
Thanks, y'all.